Welcome to our video on the rise and fall of Pablo Escobar. In this video, we will take you on a journey through the life of one of the most notorious drug lords in history. From his humble beginnings to his ultimate downfall, we will explore the rise and fall of this enigmatic figure and the impact he had on the world. The early years. Pablo Escobar was born on December 1, 1949, in Rio Negro, Colombia. He grew up in a lower middle-class family, and his father was a farmer and his mother was a schoolteacher. From an early age, Escobar showed a talent for entrepreneurship and a willingness to take risks. As a teenager, he began selling stolen tombstones to local smugglers, and he quickly earned a reputation as a street-smart criminal. Escobar's criminal activities escalated in the 1970s when he began smuggling marijuana into the United States. He quickly realized that cocaine was much more profitable than marijuana, and he began to focus his efforts on this drug. In the early 1980s, Escobar's drug empire began to take shape, and he emerged as one of the most powerful drug lords in the world. Rise to power. By the mid-1980s, Pablo Escobar had become the head of a vast criminal empire that controlled the majority of the cocaine trade in the world. His Medellin cartel was responsible for supplying up to 80% of the cocaine consumed in the United States. Escobar's wealth and power were unparalleled, and he was estimated to have a net worth of over $30 billion. Escobar's Medellin cartel was not just a drug smuggling operation, but also a vast criminal network that included money laundering, kidnapping, and murder. Escobar's empire was built on violence and intimidation, and he had a personal army of loyal followers who were willing to do his bidding. The Medellin Cartel. The Medellin Cartel was a highly organized criminal network that was responsible for the transportation, distribution, and sale of cocaine. The cartel was based in the city of Medellin, Colombia, and it was made up of a group of powerful drug lords who worked together to control the cocaine trade. Escobar's role in the Medellin cartel was that of the top boss. He oversaw all aspects of the operation and was the final decision-maker when it came to important business deals. He was also responsible for managing the cartel's finances and was known for his shrewd business sense. Narcoterrorism. Escobar was notorious for his use of violence and intimidation to control the drug trade. He was responsible for countless acts of terror, including bombings, assassinations, and kidnappings. His goal was to eliminate anyone who posed a threat to his empire, including rival drug lords, politicians, and law enforcement officials. Escobar's use of violence was not just limited to those who opposed him. He also used it as a tool of intimidation to control those who worked for him. Escobar's henchmen were known for their brutality, and they would often carry out violent acts against innocent civilians as a way of sending a message to anyone who dared to cross Escobar. The Robin Hood myth. Despite his brutal tactics, Escobar was also seen by some as a benefactor to the poor. He was known for his philanthropy and was responsible for building schools, hospitals, and housing projects for the poor in his hometown of Medellin. Escobar was able to maintain his image as a Robin Hood figure by using his vast wealth to buy the loyalty of the poor. He was seen as a hero by many who saw him as a champion of the working class. The war on drugs. Escobar's reign of terror eventually caught up with him when he declared war on the Colombian government in the 1980s. He believed that he was above the law and refused to be extradited to the United States to face trial. In response, the Colombian government and the United States launched a massive manhunt to capture him. The hunt for Escobar lasted for years and was marked by violence and bloodshed. The Colombian government and the United States worked together to track down Escobar and his associates. The hunt for Escobar involved wiretapping, surveillance, and a variety of other tactics. The hunt for Escobar. After years of searching, law enforcement officials finally tracked down Escobar to a safe house in Medellin in 1993. A team of Colombian National Police officers and U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agents surrounded the building and engaged in a fierce gun battle with Escobar's henchmen. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Escobar managed to escape from the safe house through a hidden staircase. He remained on the run for several months before being captured in December 1993. Imprisonment and escape. After his capture, Escobar was sent to a high-security prison called La Catedral. However, the conditions of his imprisonment were far from strict, and he was able to continue running his criminal empire from behind bars. He even had a soccer field and a private suite in the prison. In July 1992, Escobar staged a dramatic escape from La Catedral. He simply walked out of the prison and disappeared into the Colombian countryside. He remained on the run for several months before being captured again in December 1993. The final days. Escobar's final days were marked by desperation, fear, and a frantic attempt to evade capture by the authorities. By the early 1990s, Escobar had become one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Colombia, thanks to his control of the cocaine trade. He had amassed a fortune estimated at $30 billion and had built an extensive criminal empire that included hit squads, bribed officials, and a network of informants. However, his notoriety had also made him a prime target for law enforcement agencies, both in Colombia and abroad. The Colombian government, with assistance from the United States, launched a massive manhunt for Escobar, known as Operation Search Block. The operation involved a vast network of agents, informants, and military personnel who scoured the country in search of the drug lord. Escobar, in turn, responded with violence, ordering the assassination of government officials and journalists who spoke out against him. In early 1993, Escobar went into hiding, taking refuge in a series of safe houses in Medellin. However, he was eventually tracked down by the authorities, who located his hideout in a middle-class neighborhood of the city. The ensuing siege lasted for several days, with Escobar and his bodyguards holed up in the house while police and soldiers surrounded the area. Despite their overwhelming numbers, the authorities were unable to capture Escobar, who continued to evade them with a series of daring escapes. In one incident, he slipped through a hole in the roof of the house while police were distracted by a nearby explosion. In another, he walked past a line of police officers dressed as a construction worker. However, Escobar's luck eventually ran out. On December 2, 1993, the authorities tracked him down to a safe house in a middle-class neighborhood of Medellin. In a dramatic firefight, they stormed the building and killed Escobar in a hail of bullets. His death marked the end of an era in Colombian history, and the beginning of a new chapter in the country's ongoing struggle with organized crime. The legacy of Pablo Escobar. The legacy of Pablo Escobar is a complicated one. On the one hand, he was a ruthless criminal who was responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. On the other hand, he was seen by some as a champion of the poor and a Robin Hood figure. In Colombia, Escobar's legacy is still felt today. The violence and corruption that he brought to the country continue to be major issues. However, Colombia has also made great strides in recent years in fighting drug trafficking and improving the lives of its citizens. Globally, Escobar's legacy has had a lasting impact on the war on drugs. His story is often used as an example of the dangers of drug trafficking and the need for international cooperation to fight this problem. The rise and fall of Pablo Escobar is a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked power and the devastating effects of the drug trade. Escobar's legacy continues to be felt in Colombia and around the world, and his story serves as a reminder of the need for continued efforts to combat drug trafficking and the violence and corruption that it brings with it. And that's the end of our video on the rise and fall of Pablo Escobar. We hope you enjoyed this insightful look into the life of one of the most infamous criminals of the 20th century. Remember to like and subscribe for more fascinating content, and let us know in the comments what other topics you'd like us to cover. Thanks for watching.